Hey, welcome everybody to the Empowering Process podcast. Today's episode, it has this amazing speaker, Corbin Chase, Corbin Chase, Chase, the developer, the founder, the creator of Corbin Chase Health. And we're going to talk about holistic health healing. What an amazing topic. We're talking about medical psychic, spiritual healing, taking things to the next level in our medical and healing process. I look forward to you joining me. Who knows where this conversation will go? So, Corbin, welcome to the Empowering Process podcast and your spiritual self. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, thanks so much, Gail. I'm so happy to be here.
It's going to be so much fun. What we're going to talk about is the fact that the spiritual movement, I guess, that is happening now, from my perspective, and this is my belief, guys, is this movement has always happened. The difference is we have this thing called the internet. And so we are able to speak to people from around the world who are experiencing awakening. And those who are still in the closet are not afraid to peek out of the closet because so many are being bold enough to step forward and damn be whatever anyone thinks about them. Right. And what we're discovering is that this is who we are, that this isn't mystical, that we were born with these abilities, but you didn't know how to hone them. So tell us a little bit about how you kind of got into this in the first place.
Yeah, thanks so much. So I kind of started off as you were talking about thinking that this whole world was mystical, kind of like a stubborn believer, like very skeptical. But I have spiritual gifts myself, and I was realizing I was denying those, but they would pop in and they would be very helpful. So as I learned how to develop my spiritual gifts and learn and then apply spiritual truths and universal laws, my whole life started to slowly shift. And while it was breaking down, it was being supported at the same time. And now I'm years in, and so I have a very similar belief to you that it isn't so mystical. It's really truly part of who we are and available to us if we so choose, if we feel ready.
Yeah. And there are more and more people that we can turn to
Mhm.
and hold these kinds of conversations. You know, I have a spiritualist friend that I will talk to every once in a while. And the first time that I spoke to him, he was like, oh my God, they're telling me this, they're telling me this, they're telling me that, like, right, right, 1,000 miles an hour, right? And one of the things he said was, you have no idea just how powerful you are. And I don't take that as, oh, I'm so special. We all are. We all are. So talk a little bit about what you mean by universal laws and
Hmm.
and how that applies to what people call spirituality. And let's call it waking up. Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay instead of because it's not, it's waking up.
Yeah. All right, two examples come to mind right off the bat. One is that we know that time isn't real. So that's a very human, our reality construct. So, and that this is a big concept to try to metabolize. So at first you're like, it just feels so large. You're like, okay, hold on. I can't even, how do I even think about this? But as you start to like allow it set in and realize that everything is happening all at once and everything in the future and the past has already happened, there's like an ease that you feel like everything's going to be okay. And then you can apply that concept throughout different points, like trigger points perhaps, or if you're unsure about what decision to make, or it helps you to apply that bigger picture of what's really happening, and how to be within the bird's down view lens.
One of
Another,
the things that I say to clients, especially when it's like, I want to make a, I don't know, decision, I don't know where to go, and I can't tell you, I'm not you. But what I do say is the universe is the biggest GPS system ever.
mm,
Just, when you park your car and you try to move the wheel, how hard it is.
yeah,
Just trust that you can drive the car and it's easier for the universe to readjust and recalculate for you. Just move,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Being in flow versus chasing, allowing versus chasing. I think that's really important. Um, and when you apply that concept of time isn't real, especially to your healing, you can realize that, oh, you can heal through time. You can access wisdom through the version of you that's already on her deathbed and has all of that wisdom. There are versions of you from other lifetimes you can pull in. Like your whole world and knowledge and accessibility to knowledge just becomes much more vast.
I went through chemotherapy and I used a woman who does body talk for
Mhm,
healing after each session. And it
mhm,
was, what does my body need? And that's where we would focus my energy. Right. And one of the times she said, we're going to use a program from your kidney from before, and your kidney will regenerate in a healthier. My kidney is in amazing shape. The
mhm,
the doctors are like, we're supposed to see you every 6 months and we don't really need to see you. What's going on? Right. And so we went into the past to find the perfect blueprint
mhm,
for my kidney.
mhm.
Right. So
Yeah,
that's where time, fourth dimension, is really where you can kind of float in and float out. And guys, you're in the fourth dimension all the time.
yeah,
Last week when I cooked dinner, that's the fourth dimension.
mhm,
Tomorrow when I, serve a different meal, that's the fourth dimension.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So you had another example. What's the other
Oh
example?
yeah. So my other example, I like this one because it's even a little bit more grounded and even more supported by, air quote science. So this is the understanding that remembering that the mother of our body is Mother Earth. And so we are nature. We are nature. We do flow with the seasons. This is a spiritual truth that we can apply every single day. It's very functional. Um, so when winter rolls around, that just like all the seedlings go down into the planet, it's our time to also go within and reflect and so forth through spring and summer and fall. And if we live with the seasons, if we eat with the seasons, if we identify with the elements within us that are also outside of us, that is how we can truly support our physical body in everyday lifestyle and everyday holistic health. And it's just a very accessible, approachable, spiritual first step is really starting to live in with the seasons.
The first time that I really grasped living with the seasons, first of all, before that, so let's go before that.
Mhm.
Why do we eat, heavier foods in the wintertime and lighter foods in the summertime and don't even think about it, right?
Mhm.
I met this woman who does Ayurveda healing, and she has an Ayurveda fall cleanse and an Ayurveda spring cleanse. The fall is to get you prepared for the winter, and the spring is to get you. So in the fall, you want to eat that's going to bring your inner temperature up,
Mhm.
and in the spring, you want to eat to bring your inner temperature down.
Mhm.
Right. And so that was such an experience for me, because in the fall, you're going to eat a lot of root foods and a lot of hot foods, right? Believe it or not. And in the summertime, that's when you have your salads and your fruits and your vegetables early on to get your body ready for what is coming. Right. So potato
Yeah.
salad is not really a summer meal, by the way, guys. Potatoes are roots.
I know, yeah, exactly. Unless they're still growing in your backyard,
Yeah,
eat
then you,
with your environment. But I love what you said about your body automatically craves what's in season. And I I didn't I am now in flow with the season. So, and this was really the first year after going through maybe 3 years of stepping into a holistic lifestyle. Like, I really stopped trying to eat processed food several years ago. And then I got into eating organic, local foods. And then I started learning I can eat with the seasons. And now my body's very in flow. And I did not crave a single salad. We ate this winter. We ate so many potatoes, so many carrots, all winter long, warm bone broth. And then as soon as spring rolled around, I was like, I don't want any potatoes. I
No,
really
I
want
just bought a
salad.
salad. Your salad makings for the first time in months, right?
Yeah,
Like, oh, I
yeah.
haven't had a salad for a while. I think I'll have a salad, right?
Yeah, your body will tell you what to do. It really, if you allow it the opportunity to really perform, it's
Right.
amazing.
It really is. When it comes to people say, well, I'm a vegan or, a paleo diet or whatever. I can't tell you what I am because sometimes I will eat meats and sometimes I will not.
Hmm.
It's whatever my body needs. And honestly, when I was going through the chemo, um, I craved liver,
Hmm. Of
right?
course.
Because I had no blood. They kill your blood,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that's what I craved. That's what I got without any judgment whatsoever. Right. And
yeah.
I was on a plant-based diet, but every once in a while I had that craving and I would go and get what my body was craving.
Yeah, and it can be fluid like that. I have a similar experience around my menstrual cycle. Each month, as soon as I start bleeding, or maybe like a day before I start, I crave red meat. And we've taken a big step back from red meat recently, actually. We have chickens, we're new chicken owners, and I
Mm-hmm.
haven't had any chicken since we got them because it's making me really rethink eating chicken
Yeah.
ethically. So, but I understand. I think being in flow with your body, with fluidity, is a really beautiful gift you can give yourself, and will also develop that inner conversation and that dialogue, which will come in so handy, especially later in life.
And on so many levels. So, how did you shift into holistic healing and intuitive healing? And talk to people a little bit about what that is like,
Mhm.
because I'm a big proponent for that.
Yeah, yeah. So, holistic healing, it really started with stepping into a holistic lifestyle. I started off with food, really. I was really interested in coffee and started learning that most coffee has mold, and then the FDA approves like a certain amount of mold. So the caffeine spike will work, but then your body will crash, and then your body has to work much harder to like detox from the mold, which then takes away from my spiritual gift capacity because my body's busy doing this and there's less room for it to focus on the gift coming through. So I realize, and that's where the holism comes in. I'm like, okay, everything is connected. What I eat affects my mental health, my spiritual gifts, my ability to read and process my body. And then the seasons came in. I'm like, well, how can I take that a step further? So I'm not going to eat the processed chips. I'll make homemade baked potatoes instead. And that
Yeah.
started to feel much better. I had much more clarity. And so I was like, I need to find a lifestyle that just feels very wholesome, that acknowledges my physical body, my emotional body, my mental body, and my spirituality, and honors my physical body in a way that brings it back to nature. And it was a much more difficult shift than I thought because we are truly not set up to be supported in this way. We've drifted so far from that ancestral lifestyle of just getting our feet, our toes on the earth every morning and being outside and having connection and a relationship with animals and getting sunshine as your source of vitamin D and so forth.
Yeah, it's really interesting because from time to time I'm told, well, you need vitamin D. I'm like, of course, because the winter is over. Give me a couple of months in the sun, I'll be fine.
Mhm.
Right. And that's exactly what I do. 20 minutes, if the sun is out, 20 minutes, I'm in the sun. That's it. That's all I need.
Yeah,
Right.
it's that
Right.
simple.
Or just go take a walk for an
Yes.
hour and
Yeah.
you get what you need, right? You get exactly what you need. So tell me about the types of clients that are coming to you and some of the challenges that you've had them face. And maybe have you had clients who've come to you? So let me back up. I've observed a lot of
Mhm.
times when people turn to the holistic healing, it's because Western medicine has failed them and they have no alternative but to go to alternative solutions and are surprised at the
Yes.
results.
Yes.
So, what has been, tell us some stories.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So my client, what I tell, like my slogan is your health matters to me. Because I feel like in general, no one is really it's more uncommon, especially in Western medicine and especially from our government, to have someone really say, no, your health really matters to me. That's your healing impacts my healing and my impact impacts your healing. We move as a collective. We're all the same species. We're here to love and support each other. So I think that's the foundation is when you come to me, I'm on your team and we're gonna dive in right away. Um, your health is anything that matters to you. That's it. It's not a fever. It's not like a cut or a wound. It's anything in your life that feels like is causing you stress or feels out of whack. That's your health and that's what matters. So I partner with the Duke Cancer Institute. So I have cancer patients who are going through chemo. I support people who are onboarding and offboarding medications, as from an energetic perspective. You're inviting a very disruptive energy into your body. So how do you prepare your body for that? And then how do you detox and come back home to yourself? And just doing it with like a conscious medication process. And then I have moms who come in are like, I'm really stressed. I've lost myself, or I'm an empty nester now. What do I do? How do I find myself? Or corporate America, I need to make the shift. I don't know how. I'm scared. All of that is health, and we take a wholesome approach to healing.
And I love that all of that is health. So I'll talk a little bit about the cancer journey that I went on. I, number one, never identified with I have, or
Okay.
I always said the lab results said. So I
Ah,
always said the lab results said, right?
yep.
And I'm not a warrior or a survivor because I've never gone to battle with my body. And I
Beautiful.
correct people when they say you're such a warrior. I said, no, I'm not. I understand where you're coming from and I appreciate your love, but I've never battled my body. I've loved my body. I've thanked my body. I've honored my body
Hmm.
through this whole process. And I did some energy work. So the lab stage 2, right? So I did some untangling energy work and forgiveness. And
Yeah.
by the time I had surgery, I sang, we're off to see the wizard. Everyone sang with me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I elevated the energy. Even my surgeon said, I'm taking off your ruby slippers, my dear, when she took off, right? So everybody was on board, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about which do you like? And it was just awesome.
Yeah.
And the nurse called me a few days later and said, we've got the pathology results back.
Yeah.
Stage 1 with scarring. You're cancer free.
Wow.
Now, the reason I went through chemo is this was a journey that I was placed on, and I was told about this long before. So I was not surprised that this was my journey for a reason, right? I did spiritual transformation during that process. And
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that in the biopsy, they pierced your cell and little baby cancer cells get
Mm-hmm.
out. That's what chemo is for.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine chemo being Pac-Man,
Mm.
chasing the cancer cells and
Yeah.
gobbling them up. And my job was to take those full Pac-Man bodies and push them out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it was like, okay, you guys, you go get it. And thank you, body, for doing your job. Thank you for supporting me. I know this stinks. It's terrible. I agree with you, but we're going to work together. Right. And I had Reiki done. I had the body talk done. I had a lot of holistic things I was doing along the way with the Western medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And and I argued frequently with Western medicine, and I argued frequently with Eastern medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're talking about is I knew what my body was asking for.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what my spirit was saying you have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nobody's business what choices I made. And I
Yeah.
said, thank you for loving me and giving me your opinion. but I've had my conversation with source and I know what I need to do,
Yes.
right? That's knowing yourself well
Mhm.
enough. And that is what you help people get to.
Mhm.
So, so share some specifics if you can. Some patients who maybe came in dubiously. It's like, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's go for it. And then what the result was
Yeah.
after you've
Yeah.
worked with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have two examples with colon, or with cancer specifically. One is colon cancer, the other is lymphatic cancer that was surrounded around her heart. So just to lay down the process, when someone comes to me and says that they have cancer, I already know that there's going to be a combination of Eastern and Western medicine, which, I think ideally, if we live this holistic, more spiritual lifestyle that's very preventative, we can catch that energy before it manifests into something
Right.
more dense like cancer.
Right. It's
Um,
stuck energy, guys. Stuck energy.
it is, it is.
Mhm.
And this is where the holism comes in because I know that every single, cancer doesn't just magically happen. There's an experience somewhere along your timeline that causes like a dense energy or a trauma that then if it's not dealt with, it manifests and you have vulnerabilities and it can manifest in a bunch of different ways. So, if someone comes to me and says, I've been diagnosed with colon cancer, I immediately think, okay, the colon represents an inability or a struggle with letting go. So that's kind of where I lead with the conversation. Where in your life are you holding on really tight? Is there a fear around letting go? Have you lost someone and you haven't really worked through some of that grief? And then the conversation really starts to unfold, but that's just the top level. It's so personalized. There is no one size fits all. Each and
I know.
every client is so unique. And we really truly treat it that way. And so we go back and we do heal that initial moment of when that part of you said, oh no, we have to hold on for survival and let it go. And then that healing from that point, thinking that time isn't real, trickles down through the rest of all of your other lived experiences and slowly starts to change. And
Yeah.
so over the next coming weeks, this individual kind of like, might throw up or might sweat a lot. The body will start to work through those moments over
Mhm.
time, and that will only contribute to the healing of what the Western medicine is trying to support you with as well.
Yeah. I sweat a lot.
Yeah.
And I knew that that was me purging
Yes.
my body. So the recontextualizing of the timeline, it's called Gestalt.
Hmm.
And it really is taking the beads of the events
Hmm.
that got triggered from the initial event. And because you healed that initial event, these get de-traumatized and
Yeah.
healed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful process. It's a beautiful gift to give yourself because then in your next life, it likely won't become karma. You're really doing this is like the soul level work, the generational work. It's very important and it's very accessible. So the other example I had was I have a woman that I'm seeing. She has the lymphatic cancer and it's all around the area of her heart. And so our conversations were about when was the last time you said I love you to someone? And she was like, I don't remember. And I said, do you love yourself? Like you are the most magnificent being in the world. Like you are worthy of all of the love in the entire universe, which is also another spiritual truth and law. And she was like, no, I've never thought about that. And I said, well, love is a necessary ingredient for our survival, giving and taking.
Absolutely.
And so now she's, in her early 60s. She she has heart wounds. So she has cancer around her heart. And so we've been working on, okay, she since then she's told the two people in her life that she loves them, which was very difficult for her.
Mm-hmm.
We've been working a lot on self-love and identifying within herself um parts of someone who means a lot to her. She lost her grandmother, who was kind of like like her motherly figure. We've been remembering that even though she has passed over, one, she's not gone and still very accessible, but two, she's literally in her DNA. She is
Right.
living through you. So you can that's an avenue for loving herself by loving her grandmother within her is an avenue to start exploring that love within herself and for herself. So she still has cancer. She's going through chemotherapy, but we're hitting the healing from all of the sides, from the physical to the metaphysical. And we have to remember
Right.
just because we can't see it does not mean it's real. It's scientifically proven that we are energetic beings. So we have to remember to come at it from both sides, plus the foundation of what is your spiritual health? How, um, how foundational is that in your life? Is it cracking or is it really solid? Do you believe that you can heal? Do you
That's the
believe that?
believe. It's the
Yes.
believe. That's so strong. I call it permissions. You give yourself permission to heal.
Yes.
Permissions are really, really strong. I have a meditation that I've created that basically says, I love you and I allow you to hate me.
Mm.
I love you and I allow you to throw anger spears at me. And what that does, you go and I go through a series, is I can love you like a godly love. And I give you permission to be where you are in life without trying to change it. And where you are in life has nothing to do with me and how I feel. Right. It's so important to allow people their journey. And as a mother, it was very difficult for me to allow my children to make their mistakes and not try to fix it for them.
Mhm.
Right. Because it's their journey, not mine. And I don't allow them to grow. I take the butterfly out of the cocoon too soon
Mhm.
and I don't give them a chance to get strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, I resonate with that so deeply. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, and I've been applying this spiritual like lifestyle and laws to parenting to find a way of parenting that feels like it encompasses all of these things.
Yeah.
And remembering that they are mine to shepherd into their adulthood.
And
Um,
that's it.
but that's it. And
Yeah.
they have their own integrity. They do. Their soul is here to do something different from me. So I need to be the oak tree and they can run off and do this and then they come back home and we heal. We come back home to ourselves. They run back off, they come back home, we heal. And
Right. 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 So what I love about what I'm witnessing in this era of my life is parents, like your age parents,
Mhm.
are raising their children with the intentions of not shutting down their spirituality, not shutting down their connection. Right. I have a friend who wrote, she writes every day what goes on with her and her adopted son. Number one, he said, I've been waiting for you.
Mhm.
So even though he's adopted, he came for her.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. Of course. So just to let you guys know that. And he started singing a song when he was like about 3 that her mother used to sing to her.
Mhm.
And she knows she said, where did you learn that? And he says, well, grandma sits in the rocking chair over there, makes sure I'm okay, and sings to me at night.
Mhm. That's amazing.
Yes. And so um she said she didn't shut it down at all. She said, well, grandma used to sing that to me. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah.
And he told her, grandma's left now. I don't need her protection anymore. Right. And he tells her what's going on
Yeah.
and she just accepts and listens.
Mhm.
Right.
Totally. I think I love that, and I think that happens so much more than we realize. Like kids, we have to remember they're right out of spirit world incubator. They are much more spiritually in touch with than most adults, especially today. And so we shouldn't write off those what might seem like an imagination. We shouldn't write them off as something childish. It's our job to be curious. And so if they say they see someone who we don't see, it's don't shut it down. Just say, tell me more about that. Who is it? What are they
Right.
wearing?
Right.
Do they feel good? Do they feel bad?
Right.
Do you feel safe right now? Or do you want to hug about it? Do you want, what would you like to do? I think being curious is the most important thing you can do. Having integrity for the little ones as well.
And you teach them that they can speak about anything openly,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? And that is, I think for me, speaking about my spirituality openly has been a long journey, has been a long journey. I remember shutting when I shut down completely, but shutting down at different points in my life as a child, right? Because there there was no one to talk to about this stuff. I mean, how could I tell my father that you're not my father, this is not my planet, I don't know where I come from, but this is not home? How can I say that and have it be accepted? Right? If I said that in my time, I would have been put in the funny farm, right? And then drugged up, and totally shut down. I didn't talk about that stuff, right? And there were things that when I did talk about it, scared people, so I stopped talking about it, right? And eventually, shut it down. And I can't tell you. Well, I can tell you exactly when I went, oh, this is what I'm here for. Oh, okay. Right. Um, but more and more people are coming to that realization that this is who we are. We're here to experience, we're here to experience the pain. We're here because there is no pain up there or out there or in that dimension or in that frequency, whatever it is. There is no pain. There's just love and joy.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're here to bring new experiences to the collective for the collective to expand.
Mhm.
Right. And so our soul said, I'll do that one. I can do it. And then, I have a client, this is my favorite story. We talked about her coming into the womb. Like she's like, I'm joy, I'm love. I can live in that family. I can do this thing. And she said, Gail, the second I hit my mother's womb and felt what she was going through, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Change. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
Um, and so it's leaning in. It's leaning in and not having resistance and having trust and belief,
yes.
right? And not identifying. I think one of the things that you're working on, and one of the things I work on with clients is you are not your story, you are not your experience, right? You had that experience for a reason, and there's a lesson and a gift. I call it a game, so you get a power up from, right? So you got a power up from that. But when you take the power up, you done with that. If you don't do that, you're missing out on this story right now of the
Mhm.
moment, right? And it could be beautiful and glorious, and you will never know that
Yeah.
because you're dragging that story with you and you're done. That story for some people was 60 years ago.
Hmm. Yeah.
Leave
Yeah.
it.
That's very empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
And
similar, I think that similarly, we are also not our bodies. We are not that. I've had body image issues my whole life just because I was on TV. I saw these people and then I grew up, in like the Hamptons and everyone had these figures and then I felt pressure to do I felt literally like a slave to my body. Like I would like I'd be at so much peace if I could just crawl out of my body and not live in my body. And then I like applying these spiritual truths. I remembered, right, that I am not my body. I came down as a visitor here to this school, to Earth, to have this experience and deliver my
right.
purpose and work through some karma. Um, and I'm just in this organic vessel that I get the privilege of taking care of because when it's well cared for and
Right.
well lived in, it can be an amazing experience. And so
Right.
if you are someone who's judging me or looking at me for my body, that is such a dense consciousness. I would like to be seen for who I am as a soul. When you see and feel my soul, then I feel free.
And that is all we want is to be witnessed, right? When people ask me now, so what do you do? I first say, I don't have an elevator speech. I have a deep and rich experience, and I bring all of that to you, not just a three-liner. So I'm not going to give you an elevator speech, but there is a prayer that I used to say when I was a child. And
Mhm.
part of that prayer is, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, because thou art with me. I walk with you.
Mhm.
And
Ooh.
how I do that depends on what you need.
Mhm.
I don't have a formula. I
Yeah.
have a space I create to witness what you're going through. And I'll walk beside you, but I won't walk for you.
Yes. Gosh, that's the way I view parenting. I don't want to listen to one more parenting podcast. I don't want to read one more book. I don't want any unsolicited advice. I have a personalized parenting approach. I am in flow with my children. My children are in flow with me. We move as a unit. Yes, I am the leader, but I am not the dictator. We move together. Everything that they experience, I hold space for, facilitate, and they do the same for me. I am also a human in this. I am still growing, and they need to witness me doing the same. I
Right.
I love your elevator pitch example. It made me think because I came from corporate America, where we literally we had to have an elevator pitch, and that's
Yep.
so
Yep. What's
masculine.
your
It's so,
byline? What do you mean, what's my byline?
gosh, it's so masculine. As where I love your approach because I might start using that because I want you to meet me and I want you to look into my eyes. I want you to feel my smile. What do
Right.
you feel around being in my energy? What is my hug like for you? What does your intuition say about me? That's kind of like the pitch. Are we in
Well,
alignment or not?
right. I can't pitch to you because that isn't authentically me.
Yes.
I was having coffee with someone who apparently was shopping for a coach. And she asked, how are you different than so and so? Well, first of all, I'm not a coach because I don't say you can do it. No, right? Um, and I looked at her and I said, I can't define that for you. I don't know what you need. Only you know what you need. So you can get to know me and see if we resonate or not.
Yes. Yeah.
And, based on just that part of the conversation, I felt we didn't resonate because she was looking for a
Mhm.
cookie cutter formula, which does not exist, folks, because we are all different frequencies.
Mhm.
So I can't give you a cookie cutter and I'm not going to try. I stopped trying.
Mhm.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm also from corporate and I have metrics. My metrics are this is what you're going through and what you feel like when day one. When we're done, has your face changed?
Mhm.
Yes, it has.
Mhm.
Are you finished? Probably not,
Mhm.
but you've come quite a way,
Yeah.
right? Because we're never finished, by the way. I'm not finished. I haven't walked on water yet, so I know I'm not finished. Oh,
Yeah. It would be so boring to finish. What's the
I
point?
know. Then I'm
Keep
dead.
getting better.
Then I'm dead,
Yeah.
right?
That's the thing about being here on Earth is all about balance. Health literally translates to balance. When you're in balance, you have health, and to find health, you have to be in balance. So, but it works the same with your experiences. So, if you go through the hard stuff, on the other side, there's an equally beautiful side. And so, if you're willing to get out of the masculine of looking for well, I need the directions.
I need a reason.
Into
I need a solution. I need, right?
Yes. What are the steps? What's next? It's like, hold on a second. Let's get a little uncomfortable and move into our feminine, rebalance the masculine and feminine, and let's get creative about rediscovering who you are. That's where it starts. And then once you work with a healer, a guide, kind of like what you and I imagine we both do, is you start to learn the tools, you start to learn the concepts, you start to remember what we're part of. And then you can kind of go off and do it on your own.
Right. Because you no longer are looking for the answer. That is, I call the coaching industry coachable, right? Because it's just babble. And I don't want to discount it because some people at the beginning of their journey need structured guidance, you need to meditate every day. once you've meditated every day, you don't need to meditate every day because you're in a meditative state. But when you start, you need to practice and meditate, right? And you need affirmations. Affirmations never worked for me. So you try different things to find what works for you, but they're only going to get you to a certain level. And they're not going to get you to the next level because you need something different. And that's where I come in, right? I had a client come to me, and I love her approach. She's like, I've been journaling, I've been meditating, I've been like, she's like all these tools she's, blurting out, and nothing's working. I lost my mojo. Right. And she was so lost and so confused. And I'm like, because those tools aren't going to get you to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's the game of life. And when you conquer level 2, level 3 is different.
Mm-hmm.
Different tools, right? But
Yeah.
you learned something on level 1. What did you learn? Bring that. What did you learn on level 2? Bring that. Those are your power-ups, right? And now you're faced, and maybe it looks like the same challenge, but it's deeper, it's harder, it's more difficult,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have clients right now who are looking like similar, like the journaling, the meditating, which you don't go from zero to meditate, you go from zero to stillness. Like
Yes.
there are a lot of like holistic spiritual buzzwords out there that we need to get a little bit more real about.
Yeah, it's meditation. Let's not call it that either. It is
I know.
really sitting with yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just, yeah, right. It's learning to quiet down, even just being still. Um, I have people who use tools like ayahuasca and marijuana and other things. I was
Yeah.
wondering what your thoughts and perspective on those conscious altering
So I've
substances.
done psilocybin.
Okay.
And I did that because, and this was before, this was actually one of my premonitions that the cancer journey was coming, right?
Mm.
I was in
Oh,
the
wow.
ayahuasca, and I did it because, am I talking to you or not? I really want to know. I feel like I am, but I want definitely. And the experience was, the universe was joking with me and teasing me. Like, there was a circus, the headmaster of the circus, right? And all of these creatures and clowns or whatever from the circus were coming. You want to see us? You want to talk to us? Well, here I am, and I'm laughing. Like, okay, I get it. Okay, I get it.
They are
Right,
kind of funny.
right. Yeah, the universe does have a sense of humor. Um,
Yes.
and when I was done, the shaman who was leading it said, Mary and JC showed up for you and put a blue blanket of healing on you. JC left and Mary staying. Now I knew Mary stayed because of the compassion that she brings. I'm like, okay, so I need compassion for myself, right? Right. I'm like, okay, so good. I'm glad I like Mary. She can hang around, right?
Mhm.
And that was one of many things that happened. So I was not surprised at the diagnosis, right? Um, and so my thoughts are they can be a problem. Psilocybin is very gentle, and it's okay if you have a question that you're not getting an answer to. Ayahuasca and the frog medicine is brutal and harsh. I'm sorry if I'm throwing up. It's not a fun journey, and it takes you where you want to go, but it
Mhm.
doesn't give you the tools to stay there, to stay connected. So you'll get some answers. And I don't believe that that process really heals the dark night of the soul.
Mhm.
It'll expose the dark night of the soul to you, and some people aren't ready for it, and it's a very scary experience for them, right? And those are the people that come to me. They're in the dark night and they can't get out,
Yeah.
right? So that's my concern. Is it's fine if you're already light, and like I was already there. I was just
Mhm.
like, I wanted to
Yeah.
play. Right? If you're already there and just want to play, if you already have dumped a shitload of baggage, awesome. But if you haven't dumped your shit, you're in for a rough ride, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a big crash because you will hit love and then come back and not know how to get back to love. I had a friend years ago. She said, Gail, I just want to do it again. It was so beautiful. I said, well, why don't you just get there?
Yeah.
Right. So, what are your thoughts?
I I think that I uh I have a lot of respect for someone who has had an experience and they think it's been helpful. I'm also not looking to knock anything. Again, it's
Right.
very personalized. I think it is very scary and unsafe when people are doing it because it's a fad.
Yes.
No, like the lack of discernment of is this truly right for me or I want to go do this is because everyone else is doing it.
Right.
I think that with ayahuasca in particular, this it's meant to find you. You aren't supposed to find it. And I think it's only supposed to be administered by very particular people.
I was
Uh,
very careful in choosing who I was going to work with. Mhm.
yeah. And I think that it's prompting the body to move into like a fanned act of illness. And that's not something that we necessarily want to desire for ourselves.
Right.
I think that there are also instances of people being like assaulted or harmed while under the influence. And I mean this even spiritually because when we are
Yes.
in that frequency, that altered state of consciousness, um, our guides and loved ones and helpers on the other side aren't able to usher us into higher consciousness. They aren't as available. So we make ourselves very
We
vulnerable.
bypass them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that is a form of spiritual bypassing.
hmm Yeah, I kind of like, I also see it as I have people who are interested, who are spiritually curious and are interested in healing, but they just don't want to go through the work. They're like, I'll just do ayahuasca and see what comes from it. So I think that's another like red flag area, you
Yeah.
know? But
Because
I
that will cause
also,
harm.
it will.
Yeah.
And I think it can be confusing. And I think it also feeds into this like, um, understanding that spirituality is supposed to be this big fireworks something, like to be
It's
psychic, to
soft
like
and gentle.
it is, it's subtle, working with subtle
Yeah.
energies. It's all subtle. So I think people should really seek guidance prior going, and really have a serious one-on-one hour-long conversation with like a metaphysical healthcare
Right.
professional before you go to make sure that it's in alignment because I do believe it can be, especially if you are ill. I think it's what they were truly designed for because you have those malformed cells to buffer and absorb those the substance. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
that I know a few people who are very good at leading and ushering people through that experience, and they do take the time to be
Mhm.
sure that your intentions are clear.
Yes. Yeah.
The journey that I went on, a gentleman went on it with me, and when we were done, he was describing his experience, and it was mine, right? Up
Mhm.
until the clowns came in, then he had a different experience. And I'm watching and I'm listening. I said, so I had like the Eye of Ices and a few other things happening. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because I had that same experience. And he said, well, I went under with the intention of holding space for you.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes. And I'm like, why did you think you needed to hold space for me? He says, I don't know. I just felt. And then at some point I got kicked out. So I must have
Oh,
kicked him
yeah.
out and said, this is my experience, go through yours. So I said, well, you denied yourself your own experience then.
Mm.
Right.
hmm
So that's yeah, that was unfortunate for him. I mean, I didn't care.
Yeah. Well, that's a good also lesson though to share with people about how you can have discernment and boundaries even in the non-physical. So, and this is in the age of when more people are becoming psychic. I think there's a huge gap in psychic ethics because I could tune into this person here, there, or wherever and kind of see what's going on and get information. And of Of course, I don't, because I think that's wrong. But there are people out there who have those gifts, who have developed them, and can poke around in like the bigger picture of who you are. And so
Had that happen.
we can close people off. We
Mhm.
need to like learn energetic hygiene. We need to learn spiritual hygiene. So that way, if someone is poking around, they get a mirror or they get a frequency or something, or they just get
So
smoked.
I literally am in a bubble that looks like the tree of life. And so it's like a diamond, and
Yeah.
it allows the good vibes in and repels. And
Yep.
no one has permission. No one has permission. And I have to give it to them. When I went to do the body talk, the woman who was doing the body talk, she's amazing. She goes, I need permission to come in, Gail. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
sorry. Okay, here you go.
I'm clapping. Good
Right,
job.
right. I
Yes.
had sound work done afterwards, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. After radiation, a friend of mine who does sound healing said, "Can I take your radiation away from you?" And I said, "Sure." And so we started. He goes, "I need to be let in." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then during body talk, we had closed off my heart a little bit so I could use that energy for healing, and we never reopened it all the way. And he's like, "Oh, you're receiving love like crazy. This is awesome, but you're not like letting it out." I'm like, "Oh shit, forgot to open it. Well, let's open that up." Right. If you don't think this stuff is real, then how come these things are showing up? Right. And so we did some work. It was sometime I'll tell you the story about what happened. It was kind of hilarious. And the next day I took a shower and the scarring is gone.
Yep.
Literally fell off.
Mhm.
And everyone I know who has had radiation have permanent scars because you're basically baking yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do not.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying this stuff works.
It does. It
Yep.
does. There, what you're talking about is another like spiritual truth of anything is possible. We are celestial beings, we are sentient beings, and we have access to infinite wisdom, which means we have access to infinite possibilities. We really do. And so
Right.
with that belief, a lot more becomes possible.
Right. Right. Now, does this mean we will live forever? Maybe not yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But we can live, like I've already given the universe a directive. I want the Betty White plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's just like, give me the Betty White plan.
Mhm.
Right. Because I'm not going to stop
Mhm.
until the day I go to sleep and don't wake up again.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so if someone wanted to get in touch with you and know more about what you do or maybe work with you, Corbin,
Mhm.
how would they do that?
Thanks, Gail. Yes, you can learn more about what I do on my website, corbinchase.health. I'm also very active on Instagram at Spiritual Health Expert, which is also the name of my podcast.
Fantastic. And I just friended you, by the way.
I saw that. Thank you.
Okay. So, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. If this really resonated with you, please give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. We will be happy to get back to you. If you know someone, and I bet you do, who could benefit from this, do share it out to them. And as always, please do subscribe so that you know when the next episode is available. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, Corbin.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.